kind of want to admit this. But I'm afraid to do pilot. I've done every specialization ever. I've done Miracle Worker, I've done Temporal, Intel, and most of all, some other stuff. But one thing I was afraid to do, I'm afraid to do pilot specialization. And the reason why I say this is because the pilot specialization is, I mean, ever since it's got its revamp, it's pretty good. But as far as like, I mean, it's kind of dandy, but it's not as good still. I still don't like it. If I could put it into terms like that, then, you know, maybe it'll be a lot more simpler and easier to explain. But of course, we're going to be doing a Warship video. So, of course, we're going to be doing the how to Warship build. So, let's get started, yeah? Alright, so, of course, I am here with the ISS Craft Speed, that is a Mirror Warship Tier 6X, and, whatchamacallit? I mean, I gave my, it's kind of stupid of me, really, like, you'll really laugh at this. So, I gave my phasers, my coverted, phasers that kind of, like, look like TOS phasers, I gave that to my other account, which I kind of try to use that to get up to spec, if that were to be the case. But, I mean, these still work, which is why I'm using the Mirror Warship skin, because it applies to cannons. You know, it has like 3 cannons mounted on the saucer section. If you guys can see, it's like 3. It's not hard to see. But also, there's also like cannons in the back, like in the nacelles. That's what makes it pretty nice. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get to this this Mirror Warship build. Now, I'm gonna say this, that there are 2 types of warships you probably want from the game, and they are very expensive to get. And I highly recommend these. Of course, one of them is a pilot ship. Now, I do not have the legendary pilot warship, which is the legendary Defiant, because the reason why I don't have it is because I cannot afford it. I mean, once I was very close to getting it, but they said that I had to wait. And I'm like, buddy, I don't have time to wait on you converting my money to PlayStation bucks. Like, I have one shot at this, and I guess life hit me harder than a big old truck. But anyways, I mean, now that I have a job now, I can afford the bundle. But it comes once in a blue moon in a very unexpected time. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get to it. So, of course, this is the Craft Speed. It's a Mirror Warship T6X, and it's the best ship in the game, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. And of course, the reason why, yeah, I'm going to get to that in a minute. So, what I have here is some covert phaser dual heavy cannons, and the reason why I have this is because it fits the aesthetic of the ship itself. Sure, it has some like agony weapons and whatnot, but I chose to give it some coverted weapons to fit the theme. So, of course, you have your coverted weapons, and the thing is about these coverted weapons is that they have, of course, they take away your threats. So they make you pretty much invisible in every turn, and you can still do devastating damage. So, I mean, you can still get hit. So I'm not gonna guarantee that it's gonna grant you, oh, you're gonna cloak, oh, you're gonna do all that. Nope. It's gonna take away your threat, and threat generation is a way of having enemies attract to you. Basically, you're looking like a hot model and saying, oh, I want all the Sims to come to me. You said a done deal. Put some anti-proton weapons on you, and there you go. So, I mean, that's kind of why I got rid of them, because I don't want that much threat on me. So, that kind of like threw me off, and especially in elite TFOs where Starbase won, and I kind of got destroyed once using a sentry mode because I kept firing my battle anti-proton beams, and that increases threat because, of course, it spreads the damage. So, of course, it has a refraction proc, which is good and bad in a way. Refraction proc, you're able to spread damage up to 2 targets, and it's all equally. And if you have the 2-piece set, of course, it doubles that damage. So it benefits in that good way. In a bad way, it increases threat. So when you're doing elite TFOs, like if that's like Starbase 1 Elite, you're attracting a lot of enemies to you, and their disruptor fire hurts like a bitch. So I mean, either that or I just get good at the game. But of course, I invented the for that reason, I actually built a security measure in place. It's called the Premint the Corvent Shield Array. Now, of course, it's kind of shitty. You know, it has some anti-proton damage. It's not re-engineerable, but of course, it splits your capacity from forward to starboard and dorsal. From left and right, which is the starboard and dorsal section. No, dorsal's upward, but you know, left and right section. I'm trying to be military, but this ain't working. You know, the forward shields, the left and right shields, and the rear shields, they all have their different capacities. So, of course, it's all kind of like split into, you know, 4 categories. So, if, you know, the rear shield is down, then I can go in and regenerate that shield. If the forward shield is down, I can regenerate that shield. Easy. And it has a resistance to control effects, like tractor beams from the Borg. You're able to resist that a lot. It doesn't hurt as much because tractor beams, they're supposed to, like, they rip through your shields. I don't care, but it's the fact that they rip through your hull. That's the part I care about, and of course that's a security measure that needed to be taken place. Which is why I have, well, this thing, decentralized immunity. This you can get off the Terran trial ship. Kind of gives your ship a drone, and you know, you're immune to damage, you know, all that good stuff. But of course, the reason why I have that there, I have it equipped on my flagship. I have it equipped there because the Borg Queen Optagon, right? That thing fires a feedback pulse every time you engage it in combat, and it's very unpredictable. So I believe within the first 5 seconds of engaging that ship, I activate this the decentralized immunity, and you know, my fighters will die, my teammates will die, but I won't. I won't. And I have 10 seconds to do as much damage as possible. And once the thing goes, or even bellies up at least, you stop firing. But you know, things are kind of difficult these days. It's kind of hard to stop firing. I mean, you can switch to your teammates, but they're probably dead. And if you have a flight deck carrier or a temporal heavy dreadnought or a even strike wing escort, you just target your fighters, and that's about it. But yeah, there's like plenty of ways to defeat your enemies if you kind of like analyze it. But of course, we're getting off topic. We're going to go back to the mirror warship. So Corvette phrases for the threat. The quantum lace torpedo. I wonder if I have the 2-piece. Yep, I have the 2-piece. So the dark matter quantum torpedo. It is the best torpedo in the game. Shut up. I'm pretty much sure any torpedo you say is invalid, because the Omega torpedo kills you. The Bio Nero torpedo kind of screws you over. The plasma torpedo sure does reload time. The temporal torpedo, it only slows your enemies. This torpedo is shit. This torpedo is the only competitor, and this torpedo, it kind of murks everything, but it only does disruptive damage, so you got to get the disruptor build. The plasma torpedo is too slow. That's new. The gravimetric torpedo, it's only for science builds, and the chrono torpedo, what the hell does that do? And the plasma torpedo and the Omega plasma torpedo, it kills you. Simple as it is. Once you are between the nose of the enemy, you will get murked into the face with this thing. Like, no matter how high your hull is, no matter how powerful you are, or ooh, I'm all powerful, yeah, you're gonna die. So, and also the quantum phase torpedo, it only drains your shields. Let's see what other torpedoes. This is just a regular torpedo with just a wide angle, and this one kind of just heals you, which I'm not really fond of heals pretty much, which that's a lie. That's a lie. Yeah, that's a lie. But yeah, this is kind of like the best torpedo in the dark matter torpedo is the best torpedo in the game, and I use it when it comes to my temporal ships. I don't really use, well, despite my temporal heavy dreadnought being a temporal ship, I switch between recursive sharing and whatever it is, but it also does some physical damage every 1 second for 20 seconds. And, you know, the it works well with what's that damn ability called? I think it's called recursive sharing. Anyways, it does go with recursive sharing, and that thing is a beast when it comes to it because it's 1 second every 20 seconds. Make sense? Does the math comply? Yeah, good. Anyways, so the red matter competitor repairs all disabled systems. Looking at you, Iconians, who seems to make me drift in space and hit a rock. I'm not the Titan, sorry. The active Karma Catalyst, that's for a quick heal. Doubt that you'll need it with this ship, but probably for any other ship at that matter. This is something you can get from the R&D box and from your R&D crafting table, and this is something you have to get from the dilithium, from the Phoenix store. Something you just use dilithium to open boxes with. So, and these covert phasers, they're also from the lot box. And if you need any, like, if you're a part of our fleet, you can simply just ask me, like, hey, do you got any phasers? I might have some, or if I have any weapons packs, I might have some. There's a chance that I might open it for you and I will give some to you. I do, like, literally, if you join my fleet, if you ask me for a weapon, I will literally give it to you for free. I don't really, like, dude, look at this crap. Look at this shit. There's nothing else I would need in life. I would literally give it to you. And the dark matter quantum torpedo, that's something that you get from the Discovery rep. Easier said than done. I mean, the Disco rep is going to take a long time, but I think it shouldn't take that long. If I could check the reputation. I haven't done reputation in a long time, so get some equipment, do that, and that. Yeah, I think you get, use some engines. And a deflector. Oops. Yeah, there you go. You get a torpedo from level 1. So it's not hard to do. It's not hard to get it. Now, for the shield, I'm just gonna say this in advance. The shield, which has engines and the matter warp core, and I think you will get it. Wow, this thing is really hard to read. A little bit. There we go. The, what you would call it? I believe it's the Tilly Shield, which you will get it at tier 5, so it's gonna take a while to get the shield. It's gonna take a while this year. It's gonna take a while. It's gonna take at least, count the days, it's gonna take you at least 2 months. 2 months. Or if it's even, if you're fast at it, and if you play Star Trek Online every day, at least about, maybe at least 13 weeks. I don't know. I mean, it's not going to take that long, but you know what I mean. But, of course, Tilly's shield, the reason why it's the best shield in the game is because, I mean, it's not the toughest shield. But if you re-engineer it, you can make it tough. Because I re-engineer this to have a lot of regeneration. I try not to make it have a lot of capacity, because capacity versus regeneration, you can regenerate your shields, which means you can get it back up to 100 again. Capacity, once it's drained, it's gone. So, if you're looking at enemies like the Borg, for example, they drain your shields all the way to 0. And then, uh-oh, we got boarding party. So, yeah, that's a whole nother story for that. And of course, it gives some hull capacity, and the reason why it's the best shield in the game is because it does 15% increased damage to to enemy shields. So of course, you could just rip through their shields like it's tissue paper, no matter what weapon you have. You could have the most shitty weapon in the game, and you could still rip through their shields. So of course, it's based on the shield power. So if their shields are at 100, whoop! Oh god, it's gone. Your pants are down, and you're upside down, and your panties are exposed. So, yeah, that was kind of a cringe thing to say. Probably it'll be cringe in like a few years. The next one is the Fleet Inversion Protomatter Deflector Array. The reason, and this is from the Fleet Colony. And I recommend this to anybody, but of course, there are those who pretty much do not have a fleet with them, and they're like, okay, so how do I get this if, you know, if I join a fleet and I can't even access the fleet store? You can always join us. Like you can join this, you can get the fleet thing, and you can leave. As long as you ain't taking nothing from the bank. And even if so, most of the lockbox stuff are out of reach. So, and you can get kits and officers and whatever, because most likely I'm refilling that stuff every day. Well, not every day, but like every time it's low, I'm mostly just putting the stuff in there, and I'm like I still have a lot of kits that I still need to put in the fleet. So I'm just waiting for some ludicrous idiot and a piece of shit to just take these. So that way I'm able to put these in there. And also just saves me some space, because I have a lot of stuff. So, that's that. And, of course, the fleet protomatter, the reason why I say it's good is because it has some crit chance and crit severity based on your hull. So, according to my hull, I have 116k on my hull. So I'm pretty much going to have, you know, some 41% chance, and we're going to get to the crit severity stuff in a bit. Now, the reason why my crit severity is so high is because I have the trait Vaulting Ambition, and that is from the Terran Styx Dreadnought Cruiser. Now, it's a $200 lockbox ship, but of course I got the Terran bundle that came with the ship, along with the Mirror Crossfield class Science Destroyer. So, of course, I increased the I leveled up the Terran Styx. I'm not going to use the the Science Destroyer. I'm not going to use that anytime soon. I might use it in a science build video, but once more, this is a Science Destroyer. I'm probably going to use something else. You never know. And of course, I might not even have a science vessel. I do. I have several, but I don't like it. But yeah. Anyways, next part. The prevailing inverted impulse engines. Check this out. Now, all that you can do with these engines. So, with those engines, of course, you activate a tactical ability. Of course, it gives you some flight turn rate for 5 seconds, and if you do it with if you do it with evasive maneuvers, nonetheless, if you do it with that, then you're pretty much a speedy bastard. And most people know this. And I'm looking at people who fly small ships. They know this. And I'm not going to say that's an insult, because you want to know why it's not an insult? Because it is so fun to fly. But I believe when I first flew this ship, and I flew it with no, I think when I first got this engine, I was flying the Temporal Dreadnought Cruiser. It's a $30 ship. It's a very, very good ship, and it's even better if you get the bundle, which involves a Temporal Raider and the Temporal Science Vessel. Of course, the Temporal Science Vessel itself is the best science boat in the game as far as cheapness is concerned. Of course, the best science boat in the game is the Verne Temporal Science Vessel. That is something that you can get in the R&D box. Now, I'm going to say that put it in for next year, or you can put it in your list for this year. If you already got your prize for this year, then I say just get it next year, because of course, it's good for two things. It is good for Time God build, and it is good for just a Science Wizard build. Now, of course, its Universal Console is Temporal Backstep, or the Triple Cylinder. I call it Temporal Backstep because you're able to rewind time, preventing your ship from being defeated. Of course, all time will stop in that one bubble, and your ship will pretty much like woovie backwards. And that's what the Triple Cylinder will activate. Now, that was going to be my event thing this year, but of course I have my eyes set for the Valkyries. I'm planning on making this right, because the Universe class was not my plan, but it was a heavy heavy, unfortunate toll. And it took even the mightiest toll on my being. I was like, oh, why? That kind of shit. So, I was stuck with the Temporal Heavy Dreadnought for at least a year. But, of course, I'm getting the Valkyries this year, and since I have cross-faction flying unlocked, I'm not going to be stopped this time. No, no. So, of course, we're going to go with the, yeah. That's why this thing is pretty damn good. So, I mean, it's good for its speed, nonetheless. Now, the next one we're going to do is the Mycelium Harmonics Antimatter Warp Core. This warp core is just useless. Let's just be real. I mean, sure it has some hull capacity, sure it has some slipstream stuff. It's only use piece, and that's because it takes up no space. And plus, you pretty much have two options since you're using the utility shield anyway for that 15% increased damage to shields. Why not have this? Now, I'm going to say that there's an alternate option, and that is the Fleet Warp Core. That is something you can get off the fleet dilithium mine. Now, as I said, there's a lot of things you need to get from the fleet, and it's very, very, very much. It is like you gotta need it. Now, I wonder if these are vulnerability locators. Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, I guess I was DPS heavy at the time, but yeah. I mean, I just had to check that real quick because I'm like, I see a bunch of locators and I wonder what damage are those. And turns out they're disruptor, and I'm using disruptors on the thing. Most people would say that it's overkill, but dude, this is Star Trek Online. Who cares? I care. Anyways, of course, it's either this core or the Fleet Warp Core. It doesn't matter. That's a lie. It does. I pretty much just lied to you. Now, the Fleet Warp Core, the reason why I recommend this is because the power cost. Now, that means when it comes to the power cost, everything uses power cost. Weapons use power cost. Like they use, how much power cost do they use? Damn, how much? 12%. 12% for everything. Which kind of makes it feel like, you're like, dude, I guess everything has a price, right? Yeah, it does. But that price can be reduced. So I guess if you equip this on here, it will pretty much go down from 12% to 10%, which ain't bad. It ain't bad. Because, you know, weapons consume a lot of energy. So, I mean, depending on the weapon, of course, it all uses 12. All of it. I think this uses 12. No, this uses 8. But you get my point. So, of course, for the tactical side, we are using a bunch of these colony tactical consoles. Of course, it's called the Energetic Protomatter Matrix Infuser, but in STO we just call them Protomatter Tactical Consoles, or not even that, Colony Tactical Consoles. And the reason why, I mean, they are the best. And I tell you this again, they are the best consoles in terms of PvP. Player versus player. So, of course, you can annihilate somebody with this. Now, of course, another thing I would actually use would be the vulnerability locators, because it gives you some crit severity and some crit chance. Now, the reason, of course, the more the locators, the more the crit chance. Someone is making my ship green. Who is doing that? That's annoying. Anyways, yeah, a bunch of tactical consoles. Of course, it gives you some. It gives some hull regen and some shield regen, and it gives that for 10 seconds. Every 2 seconds for 10 seconds, and it stacks. And and that's the best part. It stacks. So, of course, the amount of English work. The more consoles you have, the more of these things you have, the more it'll stack. So, of course, I've missed one, I guess, and I guess I was flying the Acheron at the time. Most of the stuff is built for the Acheron. Like, the reason why I have two of these as epic, because they were meant for the Acheron. Like, all of this stuff was meant for the Acheron. So, none of the stuff was meant to be for this kind of stuff. So, I believe this one is also the Locust Fire custom controls. Now, this is actually recommended for, like, a lot of things. And it's because of the shield penetration. So, you can pretty much rip through their shields, and plus the crit chance and the power setting. Weapon power setting. Now, those don't matter except for the crit chance and the shield penetration. And also, it's two-piece. So, of course, it stacks up to 25. So, of course, your crit severity buff stacks up for 20 seconds. And for as long as you're in combat mode. So, it stacks up to 25 times, and crit severity is already high. So, probably looking at like 200 plus crit severity, which is a lot for anything. And you're probably wondering what this thing is. No, this is the shield absorptive frequency generator. This is something that you get off the tier 2 Val door. So ever since the first strike bundle was released, and I just learned to do a casual SAB live stream, please sub to him if you want to see more of that. But one thing I just realized, that this is pretty much supposed to be the meta shield trait in the meta shield console in the game, and it's been restricted to warbirds. Well, it's been restricted to Valdor type warbirds. Now that was the problem, and that's still, well, I can't say it's still the problem, because if it's still a problem, then it would have been. It would have never been in my my universal console slot. But my point is that, of course, if your shields are below 90%, it's a 2.5% chance, and whatchamacallit, of course, it restores your shields pretty quickly. So it's good. It's good console to have if you're looking for like a shield better trait, or if you're shield tanking or something, stuff like that. But of course, we're going to move on to the next one, which is the Domino. Now, the Domino and the M6, ever since I compiled these two are like two peas in a pod. Now, the Domino does 15% phaser damage, and of course, the M6 has no passives, but of course, it's actually, of course, it increases 5-cycle haste and all that good stuff for 15 seconds. This is pretty much the best console in the game right now as far as the tactical abilities is. There's also the I think there's another console that's also pretty good, but you get it off the Atlas type Dreadnought cruiser. That's something you can get from Infinity Lockbox. That's another $200 ship, but that's another topic for another thing. Unless I have it, then I would recommend that. I mean, I still recommend it to you, but I don't have it. But the Domino, of course, it has, every time you defeat a foe, it adds additional time. And things die pretty quickly in Star Trek Online, so you could probably have this. Like, you could break people, pretty much, if that's saying something. But, of course, many people would call this the poor man's Domino. So, of course, it gives the same buffs as Domino, but, it's kind of like lesser. It's kind of like less advanced than this one. So adding those both together kind of gives you a good combination of blinder sandwich. Who is doing that? Can you stop? No, I'm just kidding. Anyways. I like joking around with people most of the time. That's something I am. I am a class clown. I tried to be a class clown back in high school, and oh boy, did that wreck. Alright, so the next one, I added some random consoles. So, if you're kind of looking for that, I would recommend going on Doug's stream, or not Doug's stream, but like check out Doug's video on the, basically on the Mirror Warship. And of course, despite it still being the best ship in the game, you don't need that much consoles. And ever since we got the advanced console stuff, you could pretty much just fill your engineering section with advanced consoles, no matter what it could be. It could be damage resistance, it could be hull resistance, it could be whatever it is. but that's something I'm planning on doing. But temper heavy dreads actually need more consoles and more space. So, of course, we're going to do Approaching Agony. Now, this one, it's kind of like a mixed bag. So, of course, it gives you some ionic turbulence after 40 seconds. And, you know, it also gives some phaser damage. And it also gives leash. Now, that's a lot for one console. And I gotta say, oh, you know what I forgot? Y'all, I forgot about this thing. No wonder why I was missing. Oh, I guess I'll put this thing back. Because I still need that. Oops. One thing, because when I was setting the ship up, a lot of gear was missing. So I had to, like, break down the ship, and rebuild it back up. So it's a lot to build for this ship. And one thing I forgot was the immolating phaser lance. Now this is something that you get off the Deimos pilot, $200 lockbox ship. Many people keep saying that, oh, these gamble boxes, they're so much. Dude, spend $200, you are guaranteed to get a tier 6 ship from the Infinity lockbox. I keep telling this to people, and people don't listen. And they're just like, oh, I give up. And I'm like, if you got rich money like that, spend it on the T6 crap. And it's worth your while, trust me. And they did the same thing for the R&D box, but unfortunately my payday is like several days away. So of course I missed that, and I'm not surprised. SEO just has a habit of releasing stuff that's just not in my time zone. So I believe the next one we're going to do, this Approaching Agony, this is something you get off the Emperor's lockbox. And I'm going to say this, don't open it. Don't open it. That was years ago. You can simply get this off the Infinity lockbox. You can get off the Infinity lockboxes. Pour $15, you'll get it. Easy as pie. Or throw $5, you'll get it. Easy. Or if you want to join our fleet, you can simply get it from me. Like, if you're like, yo, Emperor, I need this console. Do you have it? Sure, I got you, man. No problem. I will get you this console. I will do my best to grant you this console. And if it takes me about a week to get you this console, which is I get paid every week, I will get you this console. I will not forget, because, of course, I'm already in debt. I owe my mother money. Duh. But $15 won't hurt to just put it in there, and boom, you got the console. But you know, if you have it, like if you need it like immediately, you could simply just ask me. It's not a problem. So the next one is the weaponized Hesilia Torson. That's something you can get off the Crossfield Science Destroyer. That's the mirror version of the Crossfield. Now I'm gonna say that this thing is kind of trash. It's trash, but it's not as trash as this. The Agony Redistributor. The Agony Redistributor is one of the best, was actually murder. It's the definition of murder. So, literally, that thing can cripple an entire armada within just seconds of it activating. Like, within the first even 10 seconds, that like an armada is obliterated. That's how powerful this thing is. That's how much powerful this thing is. So if you're looking for that, and I might just put it on here. But unfortunately, you know, Cryptic kind of realized that this power is too much for just one C-Store ship. And I mean, look at the fucking Hydra. But still, my point is, like, not even my point. Cryptic looked at this console again, and they're like, no, we're not doing that. And what they did, that was pretty much the biggest mistake of their life. They nerfed it to the ground. They nerfed that thing so hard that you won't even see any damage on it anymore. Which is why I'm going to pretty much go back to the weaponized Hesilia Torso. But I wouldn't recommend this console to anybody. Like, of course, it only gives you flight speed and inertia. It doesn't give you a passive phaser damage. Like, you can barely even recognize the damage difference anymore. That's how bad it is. So, of course, one thing I actually forgot. God, Lee, I keep forgetting everything. There, boom. Anyways. Yeah, the Agony Redistributor, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. I wouldn't even recommend it to you people. I wouldn't recommend it to my fleet. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. Like, this console got nerfed so hard that it's not even usable anymore. Like, people don't even use it anymore. They just want the ship. They don't even want the console. I would normally buy ships for the console. But this hurt me. And I didn't even get it till after the nerf. And I got it after the nerf. And I didn't see any difference. I mean, it kind of screwed it over. Like, people did millions of damage with it, and they're like, no. Kind of like that Captain Shaw thing where he's like, no. So, yeah, they nerfed that thing to the ground. So, next one we're going to do is the Immolating Phaser Lance. This is the one you get up the Dynamos Pilot Destroyer, told you before. This is probably one of the quote-unquote best consoles in the game. I mean, it's not that bad of a console, really. Of course, it gives you a lance up to 6 charges, which is pretty good, and it recharges every 3 seconds. Only gives you a 3-second lockout, which isn't bad. It's something that I put on my Temper Heavy Dreadnought cruiser to give it a little lance feel that, you know, that it's always firing its lances and stuff. It's kind of like the Terran theme of it, mostly. But, of course, you get my drift a little bit. Now, if you slap it on Lexington, it kind of looks like a monster. Of course, I did the same thing with the Universe. Still looks like a monster, just with a big old radiation beam on it. Now, the next one is the Cutting Tractor Beam. The reason why I recommend this is because of the Immolating Phaser Lance. If you add those two, it increases the damage of the Immolating Phaser Lance pretty much tremendously, which it is pretty damn good. Now, the cutting, it's good in a number of ways to keep it. It gives some hull restoration, it gives some hull healing, and it gives you some damage resistance to energy damage. Now, of course, its Cutting Tractor Beam, it's pretty good. It's actually pretty good against, like, enemy ships. Like, it does a lot. And it does a lot, and it rips through the shields, and it actually goes through the hull. Now, it does exactly what it says on paper. That's Cryptic actually doing its job, in my case. But, nonetheless, this thing is pretty neat. But the only reason why it's there is because of the Immolating Phaser Lance, and that it adds Galactic Technology, so every time you use a Universal Console, it adds 10% bonus damage. So, of course, I'm not done. Well, I'm not done. I'm almost done. So, the next one we're going to do is, now, of course, this is all kind of mixed up. It really is. It is all mixed up. Because this is because I haven't used this ship in months. So, I just leave everything as it is. The unconventional system stuff is kind of broken. Because this is supposed to be unconventional system side, tactical side, and engineering side. So everything's kind of broken, really. Might just give it a stable warp bubble. That's an unconventional systems trigger. At least 2. So, of course, we have evade target lock. That is from, of course, this Intel and intelligence team and some electromagnetic pulse probe. I think all these are unconventional systems. In my case, I don't know. Like, honestly, I don't know. And tractor beam, that's also unconventional systems. Everything up here is unconventional systems. So, down here is the tactical side. Of course, tactical team 1, and torpedo spread 2, attack pattern omega 3, and scanning scatter volley 3. Of course, I would probably put in that there, and I guess I'll replace this with something else. There we go. That's better. Feels a little bit more comfortable now. It's like putting on new pants. And I think I would probably replace this with chemosite-laced weaponry because that shouldn't be there. That should not be there, and I'm probably going to put augment boarding party to get rid of that high yield. But anyways, you have chemosite-laced weaponry, turns all your weapons to radiation damage, and if you have torpedoes, causing a massive explosion. Disruptive targeting or distributed targeting makes your weapons like a battle anti-proton weapon chains damage. torpedo spread, you know, kind of gives you a big torpedo salvo up to 5 targets. Counter scatter volley does the same thing. It pretty much gives you a massive cone of damage up to 3 targets. But that's not the case. It's a spread of damage, so of course it's more than 3 targets. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Augmented boarding party gives you some shield drain for 35 every second for 35 seconds, which is pretty good. And if your target is destroyed, it will become an Admiralty card. Oops, sorry. Let's continue on. In the engineering side, we have emergency powder shields. That's for the that's to recharge the evasive maneuvers 3. Fire unstable warp bubble. That's an unconventional system trigger. Don't worry about it. Emergency powder shields. That pretty much gives some bonus shield regeneration. And reverse shield polarity, which is the best engineering trait or engineering bridge officer ability in the game. Of course, it kind of makes your ship almost immune to damage entirely. So I think that is pretty much it for the ship. I mean, as for if you guys want to look at the traits, here it is. Of course, it has some pretty old stuff like Honor Dead. That's supposed to be used while cloaking. I don't have a cloak on me. Shield carry wave hacking. Every time you use a tractor beam, it turns the shields off. Calm before the storm. That comes off the Cardassian flight deck carrier. Gives you some fire cycle haste, everything that really burn. That's from the Emerald Chain Lockbox. Programmable Mariner Enchantments. That's from the Emerald Chain Lockbox. Saying goodbye off the Mirror Warship, which is currently the ship right now. And this is also from the Emerald Chain Lockbox. Most of the stuff is from Emerald Chain Lockbox. Of course, it turns the shields off. Now, as for this stuff, I'm not really going to tell you what it is because, you know, it's all damage resistance. All of it. All of it. It's all damage resistance. It's all to keep the ship alive. And I'm pretty much sure from this, from this stuff, this stuff is pretty strong. So, I mean, the ship is pretty decent when it comes to being in battles. But I believe we exceeded the time limit, so I'm not really going to do a test right now. But you know, it's a pretty good ship to have, and I recommend this ship to anybody who wants to actually fly a warship. I mean, there's also the Temporal Warship, which is the Edison class. It's also seen in Star Trek Picard. Most people don't really care to see it. I mean, not that they don't really care to see it, but it's more like a temporal sign. It's a temporal ship, so you're able to put recursive shearing on it. So it's not that bad of a ship. So, of course, without further ado, I think it is time for us to go. So if you guys want to like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button, that'll be pretty nice, because, you know, it's kind of YouTube's thing of saying, please do it. Please, I beg you. But, of course, I've uploaded at least 2 videos this week, so I might not be able to upload any other videos unless there's some kind of brainstorming idea in my head. And also, unless I get the reward for this stuff, which I'll probably do a review pretty soon. Now, I'm not going to say that this ship is pretty fantastic, really, because it's kind of not in a sense like fantastic in any way. I mean, it's a pretty good ship, but, you know, other than that, it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. You can equip dual cannons on it. It has a 62, it has a base hull 62K, and it's a pretty... Wow, that is a lot of a description. Oh, it's a 5.3 website. Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah. But I believe that is it for the for this week, nonetheless. So I think I will see you guys soon. Goodbye.